So this is a Yeti Hopper 40, and if you are thinking about getting a Yeti product, never owned one before, or if you're a current customer, it's a supremely built apparatus and bag. You're going to pay a premium for it. I just want to talk about this bag a little bit, how I'm using it, what it's for, how well I think it's standing up, so forth. I got a little accessory bag on the side here. And we can talk about that for maybe like the next 5 minutes or so. I took it out to the boat on the 3rd of July 2018, and today's the 6th, so it was just earlier in the week. I broke my kneecap on Mother's Day of 2018, so I haven't had my boat out in a long time. I was really dying to get out there. Evan also wanted to take his boat out, and he did some work on it, so I wanted to shadow him. So we both wanted to run our boats, and in case he had problems or something, that we'd be able to sort of help each other out. So that was the whole reason for it. But anyway, we ended up out at the lake. We do dinner, have a few drinks and whatnot, and then the weather turned sour. I ended up getting absolutely soaked, as well as the Yeti did as well. So this is a Hopper 40 quart. They don't make them anymore. They make the 30 and a 20, I believe it is, and they've got some other configurations, but those 30 and 20 looks very similar to this. They have redesigned it. Evan uses a Hopper 30. With my leg situation being what it is, I do have struggled to carry this thing with a decent load in it, but that's true for anything I'm carrying these days until my leg heals up. So, but it can get very, very heavy. So it'll hold a lot if you have like a big crew. Our max crew size is about 10 people, every single weekend, right? So, I can put a lot of drinks and a lot of ice in this thing, but I will struggle to carry it with currently. So let's talk about the bag. Let's talk about why it's different and so forth. So right off the bat, you'll notice that it has this zipper on the top. They redesigned that. What they did was they closed this up, right, and sort of brought this together, and they put the zipper down on the side now. And in the bad weather clip that I'll add to this video, you can see how water collected up top, and it didn't take but a second to do that. It has this very, very robust zipper on it. And when you pull it, it comes all the way to the end, and then it sort of has this locking last pull type of thing on the end, and that holds the zipper in place. Then to release it, you just give it a tug, and they've got these handles on the back. And I noticed too is that rather than this horizontal configuration, in the newer design, they've flipped them vertically. It's probably a little bit easier, I'd have to say so, right? But you're going to pay full price. This one came from Tuesday morning and was half the price of the regular retail. Regular retail $300. My kids got it for $150 for my birthday, and so because it was discontinued, and so forth. So that's how that all went down. If you register your products with Yeti, they have little giveaways and so forth. So I got this key. I did add it to the handle here. We don't use glass too much anymore. It's too dangerous on the feet, so it's usually plastic or cans. But I do have it, and this thing retails, like I said, for $10, right? The Sidekick bag, I got this for Father's Day for 2018. I actually asked for it, and my kids got it for me. This thing is really, really interesting in that the way it's designed, it doesn't really, nothing about it is like something you've seen before. So for example, right, so there's Velcro that holds the lid in the closed position, but then beyond that, there's a magnetic strip up here, and if you pull that apart, it's easy access for sure. There's no problem with that. And then if you sort of let it go, it just kind of snaps shut. And it's full of air right now. So if I push on this, right, the air, I could get the air out, right? You can see it just starting to go down a little bit, but it's almost airtight, I guess you might say. Certainly watertight when you flip the lid down. In the bad weather clip, my cell phone, wallet, keys, so forth were inside this thing, and the water all kind of washed over the top of it and came out dry, right? So I've heard of guys completely submerging this and not having any problems whatsoever. I doubt they left it in the water, right? It gets in the water and you snatch it out and you'll be fine. It attaches to this sort of this lattice work that they've applied to this, and it's just really 4 Velcro straps, so that works really, really well. I mean, it's easy enough to get on and off. And I think if you didn't want to take it, with you on, in the cooler configuration, you can just march this down to the down to the beach and just carry your stuff that you don't want to get dirty or wet. That would be fine. In fact, they've even included this little handle on the back of it. but you can see how it's filled with air right now, and it's just a very interesting way to do something. This is version 2.0, and this thing retails for $50, and this was paid for at full price. But this is version 2.0, and I've heard guys talk about version 1.0. They weren't really too cool about it, right? Didn't like it that much. It also has this net in it too, that's in the back side. It's in the back side of this thing, and it doesn't go all the way to the bottom. So while your sharp things are, doing their scrum down at the bottom, you can put your sunglasses in there, and they're not going to be, for the most part, being hit by sharp objects. So that's really a well thought out feature, I guess you might say. It works very, very well. I put my sunglasses in there, no problem. Actually holds quite a bit too. It's sort of right size for what I need it for. So I've really learned to appreciate this thing, and it's doing the job exactly as it's supposed to. In the end of the day, I don't really care if it costs $50. I don't care if this is $300. And with any of the Yeti products, the first thing you notice with them is that they're really, really heavy. Everything they sell is really heavy, but it does the job that it's supposed to. So if I fill this up with one single bag of ice and about a dozen drinks, it's going to stay cold for 48 hours. Then I'm going to have about half water, half ice, somewhere in there. Then the next day, I think we'll lose the ice, but the water will still be cold. And if you extend beyond there, and I found this with every cooler I've ever owned, if you just leave the water in there too long, the stuff starts getting slimy. There's bacteria in the water, and it just starts to grow in this dark environment. So it happens with all coolers, and it's just a matter of cleaning your stuff out, right? So down inside this thing, it's an interesting material in the sense that the water beads on this. So if you waxed your car hood, right, and the water beaded up, it's a very similar effect. So water tends to want to collect to itself and bead up and then sort of go in a little puddle rather than sort of this sheet of wetness. And I find that easier to dry out. It never gets put away wet, right? It's just bone dry. Put it out in the sun. I stuff a couple of rags in here so it'll keep it open. Same for this, and just make sure that it is bone dry, because I actually put a wet item in here from this boat video, and it got sort of damp in there, right? So it had to dry out. I just stuffed rags so that it would, sort of air out. So let's get a little bit closer look at some of the straps, what they're made out of, so on and so forth. So Hopper 40, like I said, they don't make this one anymore. They've got different variations on this same theme. It comes with this very robust shoulder strap, and comes off really, really easily if you do not want to carry the shoulder strap. I'm not sure if I can undo it single-handedly, but let me see if I can just barely get that. Yeah, so it pops off easy enough, and you can throw that in your truck or whatever and just kind of have it around if that's what you need. But I have used the strap, and it works fine. And then in addition, it's got these two sort of these purse loops that are made of these gigantic straps, and you can see the stitching in here, how that's done, right? It comes all the way down. They've got these tie downs, so that if you're on an ATV or a kayak or a canoe or a boat, right? You can somehow bungee that or tie that down with some short pieces of rope. They've X-brace stitched all this. It's doubled back. And, I pulled down all this stuff, right? And there's no sign of any of this, letting go. From the base, they typically provide the logo on the bottom of this thing. So when you set it in the sand, it leaves it behind, which is kind of cool. But it's quite wide. Look at relative to my hand. How it's actually shaped, right? So you have these these tie downs on all four sides, and it's basically a mirror image on the other. And then down inside, I do notice too that this zipper can get a little shark bitey. So if you're going after like 3 or 4 drinks, right, and you've got maybe a little sunburn on your arm, this thing will get your attention, right? It is, especially when it was new, it's starting to loosen up a little bit. But that thing would take off some skin, or at least a top layer, and wasn't always that pleasant. But it's starting to loosen up, like I said. Again, this design has changed. They have now rotated this, sort of brought this together, and stitched it like that, and brought the zipper down to the side here, because this tends to collect water if you get any splashing or stuff coming up over the windshield, or mud or whatever. That's just kind of a pain in the neck. So I think that was definitely the way to go. And like I said, Evan has the Hopper 30, and it's just one size smaller than this, and I think it's maybe a little more practical, but you know, who's to say, right? It just kind of depends on how you want to use the thing. So let's take a look at the boat videos. Start off, flat calm, blazing hot, nice evening. The weather churned up, and I was really just trying to get back to the launch without sinking the boat, right? Okay, here goes. See ya. Good Lord, look at that. Touchdown! So we went from flat calm, really, really hot, storm brewed up east of us. Oh, whoa! And we got white caps all over the place now. Man, these things are really big. The wind really kicked up, and it is rough. Right, these waves got so freaking big. I must have had just what, like 5 gallons come in the boat. I mean, it just came right over the bow 2 times. They hit these monsters, right? So there it is, right? See all the water running down, right? Got puddles here. So now I got to take this thing home. I can't take it back to storage because it's soaking wet. All this water on top of the Yeti. My God. Wow. And Evan and Jordan are over there in the distance, right? They're seeing me slow down, and I'm like, what, you know, but, right? So we got another half mile, 3/4 of a mile to go. So here goes. Well, thanks for watching. If you have a Yeti product or you want to comment about that, I'd love to hear that, right? You know, people who own these things, they're just like radical. Radical. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars at all times. You know, I'm pretty much there too. I want the waterproof bag, right? I mean, I really like that. I like to stick clothes, towels, you know, whatnot in there. Pretty expensive thing, but I still want one. So enjoy it. Thanks for coming.